Storytelling can be that powerful. We all have a story. It relates to all of us. We all have a unique story, unique to ourselves, unique to just us. And there's a reason for that story.
Mm-hmm.
And I always encourage people, share your story. It doesn't have to be on a podcast, but just share it, even if it's to yourself. Just write something to yourself. Write things to yourself. Write love letters to yourself. How often do we spend putting our time and energy into others for them to like us and courting others? And yet, how often do we court ourselves?
Oh man, that's some words of wisdom right there. So this conversation, like how quickly after this conversation were you like, I need to figure out how to become and do that, what you just shared with me, because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, so I'm not a big how do I figure this out, plan it out. I'm much more throw me in the fire. I'll learn to kind of just melt. Throw me in a pool is probably a better analogy. I'll learn to swim. It's just, I just got in my car and started driving. I'll figure it out. That's what life is about. Life is a figuring process. And so it was a matter of, let me get in the car and let me pursue this opportunity to be a caddy on the PGA Tour and see what that's like and build that relationship. And this is right at the cusp of when Tiger and Stevie are just such a dynamic team. You can see their teammates out there, and it's just making caddying looking like the most beautiful, epic job on the planet. But you don't know it till you're in it. So I immersed myself into them.
Yeah, it's beautiful because this is a good point too, is you have a vision or a dream and this knowing that's sparked within you of that seems very interesting. I want to explore that. So you put your energy into pursuing, I want to be a caddy on the PGA Tour. Obviously, you can't just go to the PGA Tour and call them up and say, hey, I want to be a caddy. But it's putting that energy out and then allowing the universe and the opportunities to present themselves and the synchronicities to happen. So what was the first initial step of how did you get involved on that path? And then how long did it take you to become, an actual caddy on the PGA Tour, and where did that journey lead you?
It was much harder than I originally assumed. I was in a parking lot for quite some time. What's nice about the PGA Tour is that they showcase their schedule. They tell you where they're going to be, and that predictability allowed me to plan. For lack of a better word, at least just show up. And so for me, who is a 23-year-old kid who really doesn't care about what others think about him because there's no social media, there's no one judging me. I'm sleeping in my car, and I think that's kind of rad. Of course, I'm the only person that I am talking to and have to impress.
Yeah, now they call it van life, and all the kids are doing it.
Yeah, van life. And you can show that on social media.
Yeah, look what I'm doing. And you can get paid for it, and it's like the actual thing that you're doing is living in your car. And
yeah, I can look back on that, and I can focus on the living on the car part, but that's actually not what I felt every day. Every day I felt this excitement and encouragement because I was moving towards something. And if you're moving towards something, I don't think you really care about the steps. And I didn't need to show off in any particular way. I just knew I felt really good inside. I felt that North Star inside myself say, yeah, everything you're doing is exactly where you need to be.
Have you always had a connection to that knowing inside of you? Because I think that's the big thing that people get disconnected from with societal programming, indoctrination, going to school, especially public education, going to college. And it's like, this story is so ingrained in our society of what success looks like, what the next step looks like. You need to get a job that you can grow in. And, obviously you realize from a very young age, that's not the path for me. And it seems like you've been connected to this calling on your heart and being able to follow that from a young age. Where would you attribute that to? Is it just an essence of who you are?
It's a great question. I can only speak from my vantage point, but I actually would surmise that we all have that. I would have to just believe that. That's nothing that I've done. Maybe it's just something I've accessed, but for me, I think that's what actually lies beyond fear. When you can look beyond the fear of not being stable or what your family might think of you, or even what you might even think of yourself, the judgment that you have for yourself. If you can get beyond that, then the only thing left, I believe, is the thing you want to do. And And the next step is figuring out how to do that.
You must have had a good childhood then, good upbringing with your parents. Like, I think one of the biggest things for me with that is, I think the religious upbringing and the fear and the shame that comes with being raised in like a belief structure that's kind of closed-minded or narrow-minded on reality, and having to break out of that was part of my story. So I'm just curious if someone that was cultivated, that nurtured within you, like growing up in your family dynamic of, hey, you can create your reality, trust this inner knowing. Was that something that was talked about and you learned about, or you just kind of always had it?
Spiritual father, religious mother, both like kind of ends of the spectrum, and also both gave me an opportunity to choose. One was very strict, one was very lenient. My father being the lenient one, spirituality, we're just here for a brief moment. This body is just to be used as a tool, and then we give it back,
Did they ever have conflict, your mom and your dad, because of that?
They divorced.
Okay. I was gonna say that's like a foundational thing,
Yeah, and that's okay. That was what best served them. Even through the divorce, I was like 13. Even through that, I kind of had a knowing that like, okay, mom's not happy, dad's not happy. Separately, they'll probably be happy. And I watched that, and happiness is like, at least, I'll say happiness, but essentially just pursuing what you want is something that should be encouraged more. Like, this is your life. This is yours. Like, someone gave birth to you and they gave you that gift, and it's a waste to squander it away on fear, or maybe even, and I know there's patterns, and I know that there's certain like confines, but those are to break through. Those barriers are meant for you to like actually find your way out, to find that you are in some kind of prison that you actually hold the key to. That's the journey. That's part of it. That's part of your story, that all of us have this unique story. And it's that's why I just encourage the telling of it, because we all have one. And so it's the most relatable thing that we have for connection.
Totally. At 13, that must have been, was there challenges? Do you remember when that was actually happening and you had to process and get to a point where like, this is for the best? Or was the energy so intense at home that it was like, I can see and feel that this is going to be better for everyone? I mean, 13 years old is a pretty formidable year to experience that kind of experience, really.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to a question of, how do you see life? Like, how do you see it? Is it an opportunity? Is it a green light? Is it a red light that holds you? What is life? But an opportunity to constantly give you this classroom. My mom was a classroom teacher. So if I took anything away from just watching her, it was to view life as such, to view it as a classroom where there are life lessons that continuously happen, and to feel into those and not ignore them. And I found out that some life lessons I'm really good at. Some not so much, just like subjects.
Yeah, I love that. And travel, I'm sure, has helped expand your worldview in a pretty big way. I know it has for me. So let's get back to the going. And so you just start showing up at these different golf tournaments, hoping to meet the right person and get your foot in the door.
Well, I mean, isn't that what we do in life most of the time anyway? We show up. We show up and we hope. Hope is a big part of what keeps that passion and dream alive for us. We need hope. And this was hope. This was hope that someone's personality would alchemize with mine, and that there would be chemistry, and that I could forge a life that I wanted, at least from the perception of what I wanted. And I could talk a little bit about that, because when we get something, it's not always what we think it's going to be. And that's another beautiful lesson. But ultimately, that is exactly what I did. I went from place to place and just continuously put myself out there. Hey, do you need a caddy? Oh, middle finger. Nice. Okay, thank you. Hey, you need a caddy? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that too. No answer. No, ignore me as if I'm not here. It was almost like it had a very a beggar feel to it, as if I was someone who needed something from them and was asking for help. The avoidance of that
Because that carries a frequency to it when it's like this scarcity frequency of I need something as opposed to I can offer something.
Yeah. I mean, I actually feel it every time I go into the mall. The middle kiosks, the people in the middle kiosk that kind of like move outwardly to like offer you like this
like
skin
it's
cream.
bubbling around them.
Like, yeah, ooh, I don't want that. I don't want that. Because they are taking away some aspect of your time. And so, and it's where you're at. Are you busy? Do you have time to allocate towards that? But yeah, that was a really tough energy to be in, but to learn no, and then to build a relationship with the comfortability.
Yeah, being able to handle rejection seems like something that you've been able to do.
Yeah, well, that's forced learning. Sometimes that we all should actually go through some type of no rejection class. It could be like an online thing that's offered because it's important. That's what helps us build enough calluses to be able to lift the weight that we want to in life. So
did it discourage you at all hearing these no's?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'm human. I want to be wanted and needed and to be a part of a tribe. I want to connect with others, and I want to feel like I matter and that people could utilize me. There's a big difference between using and utilizing.
So did you have doubt ever come up when you're like, how many times did you hear no before you finally got that opportunity? What was that like?
I mean, it wasn't like I was like, I'm going to give 100, 1,000 no. Yeah, I didn't have anything. I just was like, this doesn't feel good, but I'll just keep going. Because I honestly, what else do I have? What else am I going to do? I've put myself in this situation where I'm in Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. I don't know anybody. I'm bored. So boredom or actually get rejected. Actually, get rejected sounds like at least it has some type of interaction.
At least I'm doing something.
Yeah, boredom. I'm just sitting in my car, just like maybe reading or just studying like a map or something of the next city that I'm going to be going to, because you don't have this device.
Yeah.
You had to literally pull up the big atlas and, okay, Chicago. Oh God, this city's huge. Where are the rest areas? Circle all the rest areas.
Road trip in.
Yeah. Okay. Where are the YMCA gyms? That's where I'm showering. So there was some plan. It just wasn't wasn't staying at the Fairmont Hotel.
And a lot of these tournaments are the same golfers at all these tournaments. So did they start like recognizing how many cities did you actually go to?
Yeah. So I will preface this. Going out on the PGA Tour, even back then, because that's Tiger time. It was high. The security was heightened then. Was impossible. I was able to get in a couple parking lots, if you will, on PG events, but not able to stay there. That was quickly pointed out.
This guy's living here.
Ushered out. Yeah, exactly. However, I was fortunate to be in it enough that some caddies and what have you gave me some advice about kicking it down to a lower tier, if you will. And that was at that time the Nationwide, which I believe became the web.com, which now is the Korn Ferry Tour. Switching sponsors on me, but that was a tour where it was a lot more communal. What fascinating to watch the energy difference when you go from almost like the elitist, the PGA Tour, you've made it tour, to a tour where we're trying to make it, and the camaraderie that came with that. Caddies were staying with players. Players were splitting dinners with caddies. Like, I was like, whoa, family. This is family oriented. I like this. There wasn't a tremendous amount of money. So there wasn't the incredible division and separation of these unique cliques that happen on the PGA Tour, like the camps, if you will. If you're in a Tiger camp, if you're in like a Bubba's camp, if you're in a Vijay Singh's camp, there was hardly any interaction with the others.